Hey guys, Mixed Media Girl here. So you probably have heard this, but I just released my very own resin line and I am so excited about this. I wanted to just do a video here answering some of the commonly asked questions, and then I'll also do a project with them. So first of all, there are 3 different sizes. Even though yes, there are 6 bottles here, it's 3 different sizes. One's 8 ounce, half gallon, and 1 gallon. Now that does not mean that each bottle is that size, otherwise that wouldn't make any sense. So this 8 ounce kit makes 8 ounces. So each bottle is 4 ounces. The 1 gallon kit makes 1 gallon. If each of these bottles were 1 gallon, then it would make 2 gallons. So that's just to clarify something on the sizing of those. In terms of how much you need for your projects, a pretty safe bet when sealing your projects is to use about 3 to 4 ounces per square foot just to seal it. So if you have an acrylic pour and you want to put a clear coat over it, you're going to want 3 to 4 ounces, which will mean that this little 8 ounce kit will do 2 square feet approximately. Now if you're doing an actual art project with the resin, like just a straight up resin painting, you're going to usually use a little bit more, maybe like 5 to 6 ounces. So make sure that you factor that in when figuring out how much you will need for your pieces. If you plan on doing a lot of art pieces and a lot of coasters, you'll want definitely one of the bigger kits. But to just try it out, you can go with this little cute, adorable one. Okay, so a few things about the resin. One, it has 0 VOCs, and that's those harmful fumes that come off of them. Does that mean you don't need a mask or you can do it in a tiny closet? No, it doesn't mean any of those things. What it does mean is that it is safer than a lot of other resins. Like if you go to Home Depot and you get a resin, or you go to Michael's and you get a resin, generally they're not very high quality. They're kind of cheaper on that side and they'll have those harmful fumes. So even though it's 0 VOCs, I still recommend to make sure that you do have your proper PPE. That's your personal protection. You'll want to have your gloves. I recommend wearing a face mask, having a very well ventilated space. Now this is all what I recommend. What you do with your own body, that's totally up to you. And it is heat resistant to over 400 degrees. So that means, yes, you can absolutely make coasters and set hot cups on them and they'll be fine. I don't recommend using them for like pan trivets. Those pans are generally way hotter than that. Although it could technically be used for that, you're just gonna probably yellow the resin. I will have videos coming out where I will do experiments on all of this stuff so you can kind of see how that actually works. I'll put a hot pan on it, I'll bang on it so we see the scratch resistance and I'll do a lot of fun videos coming up. It does have maximum UV protection, so that does not mean that it won't ever yellow. It just means it has UV protection, so it will take a lot longer to yellow than one without any UV protection. It has about an hour-long work time, give or take. That's gonna depend on the temperature where you are. If it's 100 degrees, 110 degrees, you're probably gonna have a less work time than if it's colder. And if it's really cold, you'll probably have a very long work time, maybe even up to a couple of hours. I don't know, I live in Los Angeles, it doesn't get that cold to test that. But if you wanna test it, let me know, go for it. If you are doing resin in cold weather, I do recommend you preheat it. You can stick it in front of a heater or stick it in a hot water bath, warm water bath, for 15 to 30 minutes before you use it. And that way it'll be easier to mix. So now I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys a few of the things that you can use to color your resin, and then we'll do a fun project. There are actually tons of things that you can use to color resin. The most common and probably easiest to access are mica powders, and these are metallic. They have a nice beautiful shine to them in different depths. So these are a powder that you would mix in. Then there are resin dyes. These are very concentrated. Some are pretty transparent, some are more opaque. These would not be metallic. Then there are pastes, and this is one of my favorite brands, Just Resin. I get it from Artist Till Death. These can actually be either metallic or not, depending on which one you're using. And these are, just like it sounds, it's a paste that you use to color your resin. You can add glitters, you can add add alcohol inks. You can add acrylic paint, but if you do, you want to try it out on just a very small amount and test it first, because sometimes it can cause your resin to cure a little weirdly. And with all of these, you want to use no more than 15% maximum in ratio to your resin. So that means, let's say you have 10 ounces of resin, you wouldn't want to use more than 1.5 ounces of color, but usually I recommend doing even less than that. Do maybe 5 to 10%. You can always add more, you cannot take it out. If you put too much, especially of like liquids and things like that, it can actually affect the curing of your piece. So just be a little bit careful with that. You don't want to overdo it. Now let's go ahead and create a fun project. All right, so this is a 10 by 20 fluid art board that I got from Michael's. I thought it was pretty cool because it has this lip. So I'm going to try it out today. And this is not going to be a whole video on mixing resin, but I'll just tell you guys a few pointers first. So first of all, it comes in two parts, part A, part B, resin and hardener. I always add part B first because it's a little more fluid, then part A, and you mix them 50-50, equal parts, part A and part B, and you want to mix for about 4 minutes. And I always scrape the bottoms of the bucket, scrape the sides, and just make sure it is good and mixed. So I'm starting here with just some clear resin. You can call this greasing the pan. And because this is a wood board, we can use basically anything on it. You can use a torch, a heat gun. You can use the alcohol, but it won't help the resin to move around. So you want to use some sort of heat. But in this case, I'm just going to move it around a little bit with my hand. And this is just clear resin, nothing added to it. For this piece, I'm going to be using some micas and some dyes and a glitter. And we're going to be going pretty mermaid here. Okay, and underneath I just have these painter's pyramids and a hot mess of mica. All right, you don't actually need that for this piece because the resin's not going to be rolling off the sides, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and start with white, and we're just going to do an abstract piece. When you're starting out with resin, I think it's good to just kind of put it on there and just play with it. Don't stress too much about designs, techniques. You want to just have fun. And don't overdo it on the amount of resin you use. It won't help anything. You'll just kind of waste it. So make sure you have enough, the correct amount for your piece. So that was resin mixed with the Alumilite white dye. Here I have some of the purple dye, and you don't have to start with dyes. There's no rhyme or reason to that. It's just kind of how I'm doing things here. And I really like purple, so I'm going to use quite a bit. And me personally, I like to kind of go in diagonals, but definitely no requirement there. Next, I'm going to use some of this blue-green mica powder. And I'm kind of layering the colors a little bit, and then also doing some in between. And it goes through always what I call kind of the ugly stage or the hot mess stage, where it just looks like it's going to be horrible and you have no idea if it's going to be awesome or not, but just have faith, it will get there, trust me. And this is why I also say to kind of just play around when you're first starting. Don't even worry about trying to make it the most beautiful thing in the world. So this is just gold mica powder. And I do also have some mermaid glitter, but I'm gonna leave that until the end. Glitter tends to sink, so you don't wanna put it on before you're gonna move a bunch of stuff around, or it will just sink to the bottom of your piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a heat gun now, and I'm gonna start moving this around. Now I'm liking how this is going so far, but actually that green's a little lighter than I want, so I'm gonna add a little bit of blue dye to it, and this is Alumilite's Ocean Blue dye, and that will just give me a bit of a deeper teal. And then I'm gonna add some more resin to fill in these spots over here. So you can absolutely kind of go back and forth, give and take colors, whatever speaks to you. I think this will go beautifully with this. Okay, now in the corners here, we've got some extra space. So I'm just gonna throw a little bit of white, I think, in here. And also a little bit of purple. I'm taking care not to overfill this though, because the resin is not supposed to go over the edge of this piece. I don't think it would be the end of the world if it did though. And don't forget, we still have the glitter. So here we go again with the heat gun. I did get a little bit of resin up on the side here. I think that's okay, I'm not worried. I'm just gonna kind of wipe it down flat. And now for this glitter. Just gonna add a little bit of some kind of accents in here. Trying to think where. I think I'll just keep with this same pattern here and we'll see if this works. Normally I run it off the edge, so it's kind of interesting catching it here. I don't want to overdo it. Let's blow that out just a little bit. Okay, I'm happy with that. So you can keep working it. You can also do multiple layers. There's still a little bit of a shelf in here, so if you wanted to, you can come back in with another layer or even a clear layer over it. But I'm gonna go ahead and just clean up these edges a little bit, and I will be painting these later, just a solid color. And then I'll bring you in for a close-up. All right, let's do a close-up here. So we've got some really fun cell action. You can see that glitter, and because we put it on top, at least some of it will stay up. Some of it will still sink. And I did turn the lights off in here so that we didn't have the glare. So this is just with some natural light. And I just think this is really pretty. And pretty basic, not anything difficult. Just really playing around with the different colors. So as with acrylic paint, if you've done that before, you'll get to know how the different pigments work together in resin as well. All right guys, check down in the description for all of the materials. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you all next time.